Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Albany headquarters of NYPA and the New York State Canal Corporation, coming to you for meeting number 109 of the New York State Canal Recreationway Commission. You are enjoying your summer, getting out on the canal, and above all, staying healthy and happy. And we have limited in-person attendance here today in Albany, notwithstanding the nice lunch that we have put out. So those of you who didn't come in person, got to fend for yourself. Happy we have got a healthy online attendance today from the looks of our screen, including 6 of our commissioners who are online, and we are waiting the arrival of Commissioner Michelle Bernard here on the floor. As with the norm, we will acknowledge any special guests that are with us and then proceed to our usual course of introductions in just a moment. And we are also welcoming commission members who are unable to attend in person, and that is most of you, as well as agency representatives, regional planning executives who have logged in from various remote locations. Great to have you with us, one and all. Happy. Those of you who may not be familiar with the work of the CRC, or perhaps tuning in online for the very first time, it is useful always to provide a brief introduction of who we are and why we are here. The Canal Recreationway Commission, CRC, was created by the New York State Legislature in 1992 under specific section of Canal Law to 1, develop and oversee the Canal Recreationway Plan, and 2, to advise the Canal Corporation and NYPA on canal-related issues. The commission is comprised of 24 members. These are 14 voting members, including 10 involved in canal use, development, preservation, enhancement, and local governments from counties adjacent to or intersected by the New York State Canal System. More information on the CRC, you can go to our Canal Corporation website at www.canals.ny.gov. Of course, we do have another lengthy agenda today, including 4 real property items to review before they move forward. We will get underway with presentations, dialogue, and discussion very soon, but first, as always, let's begin with our introductions. We will go first the room here in Albany, and then we will go to our screen, and I'll probably, when we go to the screen, I'll call out our commissioners first, and then our agency representatives, and then everybody else who would like to introduce themselves to the extent. So, I am Brian Stratton. I am the director of the New York State Canal Corporation and the acting chair of the CRC. And to my left.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Shane Mahar, Senior Communications Strategy Manager for NYPA Canals.
And back behind here, Lisa.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Lisa Sol.
Good afternoon, Bowman Patel, NYPA IT.
Good afternoon, Carmen Story, Real Estate Specialist, Management Group. And Chandler, Vice President of for Reimagine the Canal.
Okay, we're going to go to our, thank you very much, Angelin. Oh, I'm sorry.
Rebecca Hughes, I'm the Director of Public Engagement. Brian threw me off, sorry.
Sorry, Rebecca.
Okay.
It wasn't Freudian, I can assure you. Thank you very much. Now we have a number of commissioners on the screen. We have 6 of them. Let me start with Commissioner Wiles, Dan Wiles. I hope you're feeling well. Say hello, Dan. You're on mute. Unmute yourself and say hello.
If you insist. Good morning, everyone. Longtime member of the CRC, and I guess my official capacity is park manager of the Port Byron Old Erie Canal Heritage Park in Port Byron.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cal Wysakowski, unmute and say hello, Cal.
Good afternoon, everybody. Commissioner Cal here, Greetings from Canandaigua.
Now, in a little while, as you make your way. Over top of Cal is Commissioner Fra Patorti. Mayor, say hello.
Good afternoon, guys. Calling from Whitehall, New York, American Navy. Glad to be here.
Hey, Fra, it's great to have you with us. Next to Fra is Steve Iacetta. Steve,
thank you, Director. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to be with you. Sorry I didn't make it downtown. Commissioner since 2014, residing on Crescent Lake between Erie 6 and 7 blocks. So looking forward to a good meeting. Thank you.
With us. We also have Ken DeRolla from Orleans County. Ken, are you with us?
I am. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here from Orleans County.
Wonderful. Thank you. And also Commissioner Natalie Stetson. Natalie.
Afternoon, everyone. Natalie Stetson. I am here at the Erie Canal Museum in downtown Syracuse.
6 that we have online, still awaiting the arrival of Commissioner Michelle Bernard here. Let's look at our other agency representatives, and I see Paul Byer. Paul, you want to say hello?
Sure. Thank you, Director. Hello, everybody. Paul Byer, the CRC rep from Department of State, Office of Planning and Development, Division of Smart Growth.
New York State Parks, Laura DeBetta.
Actually, I'm Laura DeBetta, Director of Outdoor Recreation, representing New York State DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation.
Laura, yes.
That's okay.
Okay. We've had it both right, recreation and DEC together. That's why I get those for being here. We've also been joined in our Albany location by Commissioner Bernard. Would you like to introduce yourself and say hello to our group? Catch your breath.
Bernard from Albany.
Paul Byer, we've done Michelle. What other agency representatives do we have?
Good afternoon. This is Sarah Emmert with Empire State Development, standing in for Ross Levi, the Executive Director of Tourism for Isle of New York. He is on vacation this week.
Thank you, Sarah. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks, Director.
Are there other agency representatives with us on the call? Go to our regional planning executives, and Mark Castiglione. Mark, would you like to say hello?
Hey, Mark Castiglione, Capital District Regional Planning Commission. Happy to be with you.
It is Ambrose.
It is Ambrose. Ambrose, okay.
Hi, good afternoon. Ambrose Barbuto, Director of Maintenance for the Canal Corp.
Thank you, Ambrose. Carl, up in the upper left-hand corner, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm here with Ed Wilkerson, and we are on the board of directors for the North Town Red Jacket Club. We're here in North Tonawanda, New York, and you'll hear a little bit more about us from Carmen's story with later on with Real Property. So, nice to meet you.
We're delighted to have you with us today from NT. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Mellon, Canal Corporation Director for
Good afternoon, everyone. Dave Mellon, Regional Manager of the Canal Corporation. Glad to be with everyone here today. Brian, the volume isn't coming through the greatest.
Volume coming through is what, low?
Yes.
Not the greatest.
I'm not sure if anybody else is experiencing that, but when you talk loud, it seems to come through, but when you back off a little, it either goes silent or you can barely hear.
Yeah, that's true. This is Cal.
But if I move over closer to Shane, does that help?
That was good, yeah.
Helps, okay, good. So I'm right under the microphone now. to be able to hear me fine. Okay, Dave, thank you for saying hello. Bill Schweitzer, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Bill Schweitzer, the Director of Marketing for Canal. Good to be here. Were you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We're all good. Jamie?
Afternoon, everybody. This is Jamie DeLuca, the Director of Technical Services for Canal Corporation. Thank you.
David Bossart, are you there, David?
Yes, I am, Director. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody.
Wonderful. All right, Allison Shea.
Hello. Yeah, I am filling in for Jeff. With no real issues, but I am just covering for him today. I'm in Nitro Legal.
Thank you, Allison. Neil Murphy, would you say hello? Okay. No, you're not. You are muted if you are saying hello. But, well, I think we've done about 90% of the intros. We have a couple of other callers in, and we welcome you to the meeting. To have you with us. That's showing the whole screen. Are there other people beyond what's on the screen? Yes. Yes? Yes. So there's more of them than what I see here. Okay. I'm not going to go through them all. We've hit everybody, and we'll get to general comments at the end if there's any of you that want to speak or not part of our agenda. Everyone who was on the CRC in terms of commissioners, agency reps, and regional planning executives have introduced themselves, correct? Staff. Okay. Very good. Let's go proceed. Call to order. I am informed that we have a quorum. In fact, we have 5 people on the screen, and we have 6 people on the screen, and we have 7 here. So we have got 7 people, 7 commissioners, and agency representatives and execs. Meeting number 109 is officially underway. Our first item, action item today, is to approve the minutes from our last meeting, meeting number 108, which was held April 7th, 2022 at the NYPA New York Energy Zone in Utica. What a great meeting that was. Commissioners should have received a copy of the minutes of that meeting as part of your package. I believe that was emailed out to you sometime late Friday afternoon. So I hope you have all had the opportunity to look at that and to review the minutes from meeting number 108. Have the members each had the opportunity? And if so, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to adopt.
Moved by Commissioner Bernard. Second?
Second.
Second by Fra Patorti. It has been moved in second. Discussion on the minutes. Any changes? Any observations? None. Okay. It has been moved and seconded. We will move to pass it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 4. We are approaching the dog days of summer. It's getting warmer. It's getting wetter. Thankfully, here in Albany, we're finally getting some rain. And our season is well underway. Fingers crossed there are no major technical issues in our operations, just the normal and never-ending punch list of headaches, repairs, and undertake. And once again, Canal Regional Manager Dave Mellon is here to provide us with an update of the ongoing pace of Canal operations and capital planning. So Dave, I turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. So since the beginning of the season to now, I'd say, at a high level, it's been relatively quiet. There's been no asset or structural failures that have affected the operations of the canal or disrupted through traffic. So that's a good thing. One theme that we are experiencing has to do with our seasonal workforce. And we've been challenged from the beginning this year to get the right number of seasonal workers that we need to operate the system. So at this point, we are covering a lot of the shortfall with overtime. It's not really a great solution for the long term. How sustainable that is over time, we'll see. but we are short quite a few seasonal workers, and it's not for lack of trying. Our team has really scoured New York State along the Canal corridor in particular to try to get everything we can to encourage people to sign up. So we're still working on that, but we are still experiencing that. And of course, lots of effort continuing to evaluate and manage an aged portfolio of assets to keep the public safe. Lots of, smaller things going on under the hood, aimed at operational improvements and efficiency. But overall, knock on wood, it's been a quiet and a good start to the season, and we're working very hard to keep the public safe. The last three items on the slide, I thought I'd share some information with you regarding vessel traffic, looking at the first approximately 6 to 7 weeks this year versus last year. From an overall perspective, we're experiencing an increase of a little over 5% of vessel traffic. And that's all vessel types: commercial, pleasure boats, paddle boats, government boats. So an overall 5% increase. The motorized pleasure boat category is up by 2%. The paddle boats is down by 6%. I'm a little surprised by that, but those numbers are system-wide. If you break down the canal into its, the 4 canals, and you take a look at those similarly, there is some interesting data there. The Erie is relatively the same as last year from the beginning of the season to early July. The Champlain is up around 15%, and the Oswego is up over 30% overall vessel traffic. On the Oswego, the motorized pleasure boats on the Oswego are up 34%. So a little surprised to see those numbers there, but that's a good thing. And Cayuga Seneca, on the other end of the spectrum, is down over 10% overall and down 15% pleasure boats. So as I think most people on the call know, we're constantly counting vessels going through our locks. These are the numbers through July 5th of this year. Gas prices are really high. I expected to see a little bit of effect on that. And last year, I think we were still experiencing some of the effect of COVID. But that's where we are so far this year relative to the vessel activity on the system. We're up 5% overall. Moving into our dredging work. Dredging work is proceeding mostly as planned, I'll say. The staffing issue that I mentioned is affecting our dredging work. Most of the work that has been done since the beginning of the year has been in the Mohawk Valley, near Sterling Creek and our Dyke Road sites. We've got so far almost 60,000 cubic yards dredged at those 2 locations. And there's a few more dredging locations in the Utica area. So that's the most quantity of dredging has occurred there. Just recently, we started dredging just below Lock C4 on the Champlain at the mouth of the Hoosick River. That's been underway for a few weeks now. Our lines our western sections are experiencing some equipment challenges. And the dredging work out west is delayed slightly, but we do expect to get that work underway in early August. So I'd say from an overall perspective, we're doing okay with the dredging, doing really well in the Mohawk Valley. It is progressing. Last item I wanted to give you an update on is our inspection program. You've heard me mention this before, the concept of the aging portfolio, all the challenges that go with it. We had, unfortunately, some asset breakdowns last year, which affected navigation. Last year, we performed over 400 inspections. Now, these are formal inspections performed by licensed professional engineers, nearly all of which we contract out for. This year, that number is over 500 inspections planned. We've got 123 of those completed to date. And because of having to put new contracts in place, we weren't able to start this work right in March. So we're probably about a 2-month delay there. So we are confident we'll finish this work by the end of the year. In addition to those 500 inspections, we have another approximately 75 inspections aimed at our dams. So those are specialized inspections aimed at dams and all that goes with dam safety. Those are also on schedule to be completed this year. So, we have, and there's a whole series of informal inspections that we perform as well. But we have well over 600 inspections happening. So, and this program is really, it's the program that allows us to understand the condition of the portfolio and the risks that go with it, particularly those to public safety. So this is a program that it's on the rise still, and it's very important. And the team is doing a great job. So more to come on that at our next meeting. The inspection's going well. And that's it, Brian.
David, thank you very much. Could everybody hear Dave okay on the screen, on the call?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect.
Questions for Dave?
This is Cal. I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Cal.
Great, thanks. I always appreciate this update on operations and maintenance, so thank you. Can you describe how you work through requests for dredging? I know that there are some challenging areas along the canal. How does that work? I mean, how do you figure out which areas can be dredged, which can't, which have to be put off for a little while? How do you prioritize that?
Well, most of the dredging that we do, the needs repeat itself annually. In other words, like take the Hoosick River that's just south of C4. There's constant supply of material coming into the canal that needs to be removed, otherwise it affects navigation. So, the program has been in place for a long period of time. We know where the problem areas are. And that, I would say, is a starting point for the framework of, annual planning relative to dredging. There are, in terms of scheduling the work, there are things like, for example, DEC restrictions that we have to comply with. So we might not be able to begin the work, say, until early July or something like that. Now, you mentioned requests. I'm not sure if you're referring to more than our normal annual planning, or a request from somebody?
I'm not really sure. I know that from time to time I certainly hear folks, boaters in particular, talk about what they would like to see to get their boats to docks and things like that in terms of the depth. And I don't really have a question except to listen to them and say, well, you got to talk to somebody at Canal Corp and figure out how that can be addressed. So that was the nature of my question, just sort of generally how the operations and maintenance handles dredging along the canal. It's not really a formula. I don't have it formulated in my mind beyond that.
Yeah, it's not, I would say, if you think of it on an annual basis, it's not that we are finding new things every year. In most cases, we're finding more of the same, and the historic problems are showing themselves again. Ambrose Barbudo's on. He might be able to add some depth to the dredging.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, you've covered it pretty much. I mean, we know our trouble spots, and they're we get there on a cycle similar to what we do with our pump outs. I mean, we have so many resources, and we know basically how much we can schedule in every given year and continue to do that on a schedule, basically. We know, like I said, those trouble spots, we don't typically get requests for areas where we normally would not dredge. Sometimes we get requests for areas that are outside of our jurisdiction that we can't touch because we don't have permits and it's not under our ownership. So, but yeah, pretty much Dave covered most of it. So.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other questions for Dave or Ambrose regarding operations and maintenance?
Yeah, this is Dan Miles.
Miles, go ahead.
Dan Wiles, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, the 30% jump in Oswego, any more, did you dig any deeper into that? Was it what was going on last year? Was it closed or were we having high water or something?
No, I didn't go through the, I guess, research to find out what it might be. Have to go deeper into that.
It's good news, and if we could duplicate that, that would be wonderful.
Dane here is telling me that, Dan, that we did have some high water last year.
Okay.
That
Okay.
might be accounting for it. What about the extra hours? Have made a difference yet? Not yet. Not in the first several weeks. Okay. Just to follow up on that, Dave, you said traffic overall was up 5% system-wide, 34% on the Oswego, but you also said it was also down somewhere, right?
Yeah, the Cayuga Seneca was down about 11% from the beginning of the season through the first week in January. Comparative analysis this year to last. Motorized pleasure boats on the Cayuga Seneca were down 15%. Paddlers were down almost 20%, it looks like.
Okay, very good. Clarifying that. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much, Dave. That beautiful photo that you see on the screen is Phil Cameras' work of our opening day, Lock E2 on the Erie Canal, an early morning drone shot. And if you get up early, that's how Waterford looks. So you can fly, that's what you would see. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay. Our canal season has almost reached the midpoint. The days are long, the days are warm, and it has been mostly beautiful on the canals. And our on the canals excursions are bigger and better than ever. And yes, there is still time for you to sign up to bike, kayak, pipe, bird watch, even unleash your inner Van Gogh. A plein air session, all for free, as part of the 22 installment of On the Canals. Here to update us on her team's impressive progress on Reimagine the Canals is NYPA Vice President for Reimagine the Canals, Angelin Chandler.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. So today I wanted to talk about a pivot that we're making with the Reimagine initiative, in our focus and how we identify projects. Building on what Dave was describing about the asset inspections and condition of the infrastructure, an awareness that we've gained over the past couple of years working on Reimagine, it's imperative that it's become apparent to us that it's imperative to align Reimagine with operational issues as well as community needs. We're not abandoning Reimagine the canals, but we're pivoting to a co-benefit model which we improve operations first and foremost and provide resilience and economic benefits to canal communities. We want to maximize the impact of our projects by leveraging third-party funding and building on community investment priorities. It could include conceptualizing a project around the priorities in a community's DRI effort or working with a local business owner recreational or cultural amenities along the canal and trail. We also intend to work closely with communities and gather appropriate consensus for any future operational adjustments. So a project that we're just now starting to plan is in Medina, and it's really representative of the pivot that I'm talking about. We have first and foremost an operational need to make repairs and safety upgrades to the concrete high wall that contains the canal and runs right through the village. This was our starting point. It so happens that the Empire State Trail also runs on top of that high wall, and it's in poor condition and lacks safety features. Oh, but other people. Okay, sorry. So we need to upgrade the trail too, in addition to the wall. Perhaps this is an opportunity for us to improve the access to the trail, the Empire State Trail, by creating new trailheads at either end and places for people to gather and provide better access from the trail to the central business. Off the trail, spend the night, have a meal, spend money in the village. So the village also has a DRI plan that focuses on upgrades to existing open spaces, provide amenities for boaters, cyclists, locals, and tourists. So we're proposing a loop that connects these various parks and open spaces with temporary art programming, partnering with local and regional arts and cultural organizations to program this art loop. The village has agreed to operate and maintain the park and cultural amenities. So it's these sorts of elements that I've described, which are representative of our new planning process, new projects. And we'd very much like your input on these projects. And we propose to share with you at future CRC meetings the projects we've identified and the criteria that support their goals. Comments or questions about that?
Becca, if I could just jump in and commend Angelin and her team. I think the commissioners are aware that Angelin's built a really strong internal team of great professionals with really amazing experience throughout their careers. And what we're seeing is this really nice alignment where Reimagine projects are centered on the community's values for themselves. They're also looking at the state of operations and maintenance with eyes wide open. So as Angelin said, you know, our framework for project selection has really shifted in a good way, a logical way, so that our investments in Reimagine are still all about economic development, resilience, vitality, and they also seek to improve operations. And, you know, so I just want to, you know, nod to Angelin and her. Really an impressive shift accomplished there, and I think one that's very much aligned with the Recreationway vision. So we're happy to support that on the public relations.
I'm thrilled that shift because involving the communities.
That we do this from the bottom up and taking our communities on what works for them. So I would concur and second both Michelle and Rebecca's comments about Angelin. Any other questions for Angelin? Comments on Imagine the Canals or our RTC 2.0 program? All right. Thank you, Angelin. It's great to have you with us as always, and we look forward to at our next meeting. Mitigation of aquatic invasive species is also, as we know from previous meetings, continues to be a key component of Reimagine the Canals, and here to provide an update on this most timely issue of our ongoing partnership with both the Executive Chamber and the Department of Environmental Conservation on efforts to combat aquatic invasive species is Senior Director of Public News, next to me. Go ahead, Rebecca.
I'd like to start with an audio check. If anyone could just unmute and let me know how the audio quality is.
I can hear you okay.
Okay, thank you, Cal. I appreciate it. I'm going to project, so apologies to those in the room who I'm essentially yelling at over the table, but I want to make sure that you guys have a good experience on the virtual meeting as well. So during our last meeting, during our last CRC meeting, the threat of the round goby was real and present and new. We talked about this invasive fish and how, you know, the canal has provided this engineered connectivity between watersheds that would be otherwise disconnected. And we talked about that need for stewardship, that the Canal Corporation, whether it's the round goby or things to follow, that we have really an obligation to mitigate the spread of aquatic invasives and to recognize that and to plan proactively to combat the spread of invasive species that can really be incredibly harmful to watersheds. So during the last meeting, we talked about the development of a rapid response plan, putting pen to paper to transparently communicate about what actions would be triggered by what data inputs. I'm pleased to announce that that was published this past Friday. It's on our environmental stewardship page on the Canal Corporation website. I'll be happy to share a link after the meeting as well if you want to read that report. Today I'm just going to spend a little time talking about the methodology that was employed, so that as you're reading it, hopefully it gives you a little bit of a primer to make it more quickly digestible. You'll note that here that it's the interim rapid response plan, so this is something that's designed to be adaptive. We're starting out with a focus on the Round Goby on the Champlain Canal, but the plan, the idea is that in the long term we'll expand that to include the entire canal system so that we can be better prepared for any invasive species that comes along. So there's really a few key elements of the rapid response plan. I'll call it the plan going forward. So our strategy, as Director Stratton mentioned, is a collaboration between Canals and Department of Environmental Conservation. We work hand in hand with DEC and also other stakeholders as we develop this plan. It includes elements of prevention, so education and outreach to boaters and anglers. It includes early detection, so surveys and sampling, as well as ongoing monitoring. And then rapid response planning, so the actions that we'll take if the Goby advances in the canal system. So the really, if you're going to look at just one thing in this, long document, trigger action response plan. It's a color-coded table. That's really the heart of the document. It shows which data inputs would trigger which actions in response. So when we designed the trigger action response plan, we used a couple different rating methodologies to inform it. So we looked at the effectiveness of a given response. So is it effective in deterring the Round Goby by boat in the canal? Is it effective in deterring the Round Goby dispersal through migration in the canal system? We also looked at the risk associated with each option. So, we rated the public health and safety risk, environmental impacts within the canal system, any financial impacts, so economic impacts like loss of tourism from angling, for example, as well as impacts to canal system users. So what would the impact be not only to boaters themselves, but also to surrounding communities? These are assimilations. There's close, we didn't want perfect to be the enemy of good, so we still have more in-depth empirical studies to conduct on some of these factors, but we feel like we're moving in the right direction, and all of that backup with the rating is included in the document as well.
Apply to anything that you're invasive species.
We only looked at the effectiveness of deterring the Round Goby for this purpose, but yeah, the same methodology could be used, right, to look more broadly at, other animals or plant species.
This is Neil Murphy. If I could just make a couple of comments. One of the things that we have found is bait buckets tend to be a very significant source of invasive species within our lakes. An example would be Skinny Atlas Lake, which is probably the cleanest lake of almost certainly of any lake in New York State, is isolated basically from the canal system and from other major sources of water and potential contaminated water. And yet a Round Goby was found in Skinny Atlas Lake. I think focusing on bait buckets and focusing on clean out, for example, of bilges of boats, I think more energy needs to be put into those two areas.
I appreciate that. I think we recognize that as well. And you'll see that education is one of the key elements of response for every stage. We are working with DEC to expand education and outreach. I know they're also working to expand their boat stewards programs and materials, and I did notice driving back into New York from Massachusetts this weekend, a big mobile billboard, clean, drain, dry, for voters, entering the state. So I am seeing, just that one anecdotal example of ramped up outreach, but that is definitely, we're looking at every vector for transfer. The Canal Corp has the most power over our own waterway, but I think DEC definitely recognizes that broader need as well, so thank you. So when we're talking about, actions and the evaluation process for those, responses may include one or more of the following. So outreach and education that seeks to influence human behavior. So education about the fact that live bait is prohibited in New York State. That's not necessarily widely known to a lot of fisher people or boaters. Operational changes that can be implemented quickly, and we'll talk about a few of those. And then technology deterrence, which might take longer to implement. So you can think of that as sort of a spectrum of response that can be tapped into for different inputs. So when we look at the potential for the Gobi to reach Lake Champlain via the Champlain Canal, that's really the narrow scope of this effort, we look at this whole wide range of potential actions from minor operational changes to advanced technology, all the way up to a lock closure. And you can think of that as a spectrum of responses. We use different evaluation criteria to make a determination about what to recommend for action. We look at the negative impact of the mitigation measure on the canal. So, does that intervention negatively impact public health, environment, economics, or canal system users? Effective at deterring the Gobi via boats in the canal, and is it effective at deterring Gobi that are migrating in the canal? And then all of that informs this trigger action response plan, the TARP. So if you go into the report and look for the color-coded table, you can jump right to that, because I'm sure that's the primary area of focus for most folks. So we range anywhere from normal state of operation all the way up to trigger level 4. So in our normal state, the Gobi has not been detected above lock C1, and we do things like scheduled lockings and double flushing. Those things are being evaluated for their effectiveness now using modeling, engineering modeling. Trigger level 1 is if the Gobi is detected between lock C1 and C2. Level 2 is when the Gobi is detected between C2 and C4. We call that the invasion front. The gates are open, at lock C1. So lock C2 is where you see some real physical barriers, including a dam and gates and a lot of other things that provide kind of a natural deterrent. And then when the Gobi is at C4 and C5, we reach level 3 response. And then if the Gobi is detected between C5 and C8 or upstream of the Hudson River between the Glens Falls Feeder and the Great Sacandaga Lake, that's when we hit response level 4. And that's when a closure of a lock would be considered. So, I didn't include the detailed actions and responses for today's purposes. I just wanted to share the methodology and concept. But basically, this is, as we talked about last time, it's really important that we take any politics off the table and just think objectively about how can we use our operational resources at our disposal to help effectively mitigate the Gobi. Also, look at technologies and how we can, really set the standard for responsiveness and prevention. And just as I indicated early on, this is one of the tables you'll find in the report itself. So when we look at risk and effectiveness, I just wanted to call out that those are in the same table. So if you want to take a deeper dive at how the different actions were rated, you can see that the risk is on the left, the negative impact of the mitigation measure on the canal, and then the effectiveness is rated on the right.
All right, well, we'll go
And those were scored by subject matter experts and reviewed by the technical working group for concurrence. And again, the scores formed the basis for the trigger action response plan. I think that's my last slide. If you want to just check.
Questions? Rebecca, on invasive species management. Those slides were a little bit text heavy, and we didn't intend you to read them, but they're in the report, so you could follow up on them. Very good.
I'm going to put it in the chat right now, and we'll send it by email too.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we're going to proceed on to our next item, number 7, and Cal Wysakowski and I will give an update on our conference. I am pleased to join with Cal to present on our Canal Conference past, present, and future. And we're going to begin with a report that I'm going to try to move quickly through, and that is my experience going to the 2022 World Canals Conference in Leipzig, Germany last month, and which culminated with the announcement of by the governor that the 2025 World Canals Conference will be coming to New York State and to Buffalo. I want to share briefly the highlights for that trip, what we learned, and how all of this information is useful and helpful to us here in New York. Next slide, please. So to outline for you, here's what to expect. A little bit more about the IWI, Inland Waterways International, and the World Canals Conference. We arrived in Berlin for a pre-tour for the waterways of Berlin and the Berlin City Tour, a fascinating tour to the massive Niederfinau ship's hoist and the Finau Canal, and then traveling aboard Germany's high-speed railway on Leipzig, into Leipzig for the conference, and then go on to the next slide, please. General overview of our conference sessions, conference takeaways, field excursions, 3 of them, and then on to Frankfurt, where we wrapped up. So let me just briefly go on to you and let you know about IWI, Inland Waterways International, is the convener of the World Canals Conference. It is an organization that we have been members of for many years. They champion proper maintenance and management of canals, foster cooperation, and emphasize restoration of derelict and underutilized canals to restore navigation, to promote commercial navigation. The IWI has presented the World Canals Conference annually since 1988. It has been 3 times in our state previously, twice in 2000 and 2010 in Rochester, in 2017 in Syracuse, and will be coming back to us for 2025. There at the bottom you see the previous locations, 2021 last year in Hagerstown, Maryland, Leipzig this year. Next year's is not certain, but it looks to be a virtual programming opportunity. Budapest, Poland will be the stop in 2024 before we come here to New York State. So we touched down in Berlin on the morning of May 28th to Germany's capital city for a great tour, both by water and by land, of Germany's capital. Next slide, a scenic cruise along the Spree River through the historic corridor. Downtown, there you see the Berlin Cathedral on your left. The iconic TV tower, which was a structure put up by the former communist regime in 1969 to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Berlin Wall going up. And then the Reichstag building, the German Parliament building on the right-hand side. One of our field tours, next slide please, led us to the Niederfinau Canal and the Havel-Alder Canal, and this gigantic pair of ship's hoists. These hoists were manufactured beginning in 1934. They replaced a series of 5 locks along the Havel-Older Canal. It will lift a boat up 70 feet in 5 minutes. Huge. This structure on the left opened up in 1934 under rising German Chancellor Hitler, and is still immaculately maintained. The newer one over on the right is even larger, and that is going to be coming online very, very soon, if it's not already online. It is so big that that one is going to be devoted to commercial traffic, one on the left-hand side to recreational traffic. So a lot of traffic in both categories. And then the center photo is a lovely photo of a 400-year-old canal, the 400-year-old Nieder Finau Canal. When we get excited that the canal is 200 years old, it ain't nothing compared to 400 years. Next, it was on board the rapid moving ice train to go to Leipzig, and passing by fields of wind turbines. A lot of emphasis on renewable energy and green energy. That picture was taken out the window, topping speeds of 200 kilometers per hour, and you literally feel like you're floating on a cushion of air, not the rumble tumble that we're used to here on our beloved Amtrak. So Germany has got their act together when it comes to train travel. Leipzig is the birthplace of musical composer Johann Sebastian Bach, and I posed for a moment of that statue outside of his home church. That is the massive Leipzig rail station, Europe's largest passenger rail station by square footage. A beautiful cruise along the river. Germany's Venice is what they call Leipzig. Beautiful, lovely. They even have gondolas. We began the conference with the mayor's reception in Leipzig Town Hall. Lovely musical reception. Great ideas for what we can do, Cal, when we get to Buffalo in 2025. And then Tuesday morning, the conferences got underway in the beautiful Congress Hall, and there's a shot from one of the presentations. That was our staging area for the next 4 days. And of course, we always hear a lot of excellent presentations, and there are far too many of them to be able to attend every one. But as an army of one, I managed to take in what I thought were the most relevant, and 2 of the most relevant ones in my mind that we heard were presentations from the waterways of the Czech Republic and from Scottish canals, which are doing many things the same way we are, the same challenging ways that we are continuing to grapple with the challenges of transitioning from an historically industrial waterway to new ideas for doing that very effectively, both in the Czech Republic and Scotland. Or a picture of the Scotland Falkirk Wheel in, where's that, Angela? Edinburgh?
No. Near Glasgow.
Glasgow. I did not get there in 2016, but that's a lovely destination and certainly our eyes on in terms of new ways to bring people. Czech Republic side, you see that passenger ship barely clearing under that bridge.
Colonial Bell going under
like
the
Colonial Bell going along onto the Fairport Bridge. Another challenge that we face here in our state is regional flooding, and in this beautiful village along the Mulde River in Germany's Saxony region is called Grimme, and the mayor there, who has been in office for 21 years, hard to believe, maybe, but in Grimme, they have been flooded out over the years, including in 2002, record flooding. And if you look at the picture all the way on the right, that is the mayor, who stands about 6 foot tall. And the line up in the upper end is the record level flooding that was sustained in August of 2002. The German government came in and completely paid for a flood protection wall system integrated into the historic buildings, into the walls, basements, everything at a total of 36 million euros. And now the euro is equal to the dollar, so it was probably $50 million of federal funding. We also went on to see in Leipzig the Saal-Elster Canal, which is an 18-kilometer canal, which is largely being utilized for recreation and for building. Those are apartments and houses along the river. But at the height of World War II, 80 years ago, Adolf Hitler wanted to use the Saal-Elster Canal as a shipping lane to connect to the Baltic Sea. These gigantic locks were left over. They were supposed to have been part of his vision, and construction was halted in 1943 at the height of World War II, and they redirected all of the funding and all the energy and all of the manpower to fight the war. So these locks were never finished, and they remain there today. Very interesting to look at, and in fact, they are protected as historic structures by the German government. So even if they wanted to complete them today, they would not be able to. Amazing. They are fascinating to see. We also saw this very interesting display of German mining equipment going back to the 1940s, and this is a place that is called Ferropolis, and it is an amphitheater outside with 5 or 6 of these gigantic, massive machines brought in to pay tribute to Germany's mining heritage. These structures are actually lit up at night, Angela, iconic lighting, and they have concerts outside. Nice. They don't move, but you can actually go on them. It's a little bit scary climbing to the top of them, but to see how these things worked, I mean, it is like out of a science fiction movie. Enormous, huge, but Germany has found a way to pay tribute to their mining heritage, lignite coal, and bring these machines back to life, so to speak. So people get on trains and they go out to see them. They see concerts. I think U2 has played there. You know, they've had some very. And of course, the final announcement at Leipzig, given by IWI, was that the World Canals Conference will be coming to Buffalo in 2025, and we are working very closely with Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, Erie Canal Harbor Development, and Visit Buffalo Niagara. How am I doing on time? Good? Good. Okay, so we celebrated that news, and Governor Hochul made that announcement on June 3rd, which I sent to all of you. Was back on board the ICE train, and I went on to Frankfurt for an unexpectedly extended but not unpleasant visit to Germany's financial capital. Leipzig, you'll see, is a city of contrast. You've got the old and the new. Much of it was destroyed by the Allied bombing in 1945. So you see a lot of this new structure, and of course, it's a very international city. So a lot of those beautiful buildings along the Main River. Is that the Main River? I can't remember. Anyway, beautiful structures and beautiful shipping. You see that beautiful commercial shipping barge along the river in the middle. And of course, that beautiful beer garden, floating beer garden, which of course I didn't have too much work to stop there. But I got a quick picture of it while I was out and about looking at. There you see the path of our travels, arriving in Berlin, top right, train down to Leipzig, and then over west to the southwest region over to Frankfurt, where Germany lies in relation to the Czech Republic, to Poland, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Switzerland, and to Denmark to the north. So a lovely country, excellent food. I don't know how the Germans enjoyed coming over here to eat, but it was lovely to be there. And as they say in Germany, when you leave, Auf Wiedersehen Deutschland. See you later, Germany. A good street performer there, giving his parade out on the streets of Frankfurt. That is my report from the World Canals Conference. We are going to send more information to you in a blog that I have prepared, but right now I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Cal Wysokowski, who's going to update us on plans for the New York State Canal Conference coming to Rochester. Cal.
Great, thank you, Director Stratton. It was looks like it was a great conference in Germany, and this conference is also going to be a wonderful conference. It's the New York State Conference, and it's going to be held October 2nd through the 4th here in Rochester, New York, and we're very excited about it. We've been planning for quite a while. We have an incredible planning committee, and the Canal Corporation, the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, the City of Rochester, Visit Rochester have all been great partners so far in putting together this event. We're very excited about it. We're going to be at the Strathallan Hotel, which is on East Avenue, and the Century Club, which is right across the street, for the majority of the conference. I won't take too much time to tell you how great it's going to be, but you can register very soon on our website, which is nyscanalconference.org. Yes, it's up there. In another day or so, we'll be open for registration and for the program. So take a look at that. I do want to tell you that one of the reasons we selected the City of Rochester for the host venue for this conference is because of all the exciting things that are going on in downtown Rochester. It's Rock the Riverway. We're partnering with them, and we're going to be focusing on the Genesee River and the New York State Canal Conference and all the work that's being done in downtown Rochester. Sunday is the community celebration. We're closing Broad Street, which is right above where the aqueduct is. And we're going to have a visioning session for what that aqueduct may look like in the future. The City of Rochester and their consulting firm will have boards, and they will conduct a visioning session there. We have live music, we have food trucks, we're going to have wine and beer tasting from local vendors. We have a pedal event, which will be connected to the Canalway Challenge, and paddling will be available as well. We hope that the Cornhill Navigation folks will be giving rides on the boat, the Sam Patch, and maybe their new boat, which might be there very soon as well. The only other things that I want to mention is we're going to have a couple really important plenary sessions. Our opening session is called Rock the Riverway. It's going to be presented again by the City of Rochester and Bergman, who is the consulting firm working on some downtown revitalization. We do have an update from Canals, New York State Canals on the Reimagine program, and Angeline, listening today, there's a lot of news to share, and I think people are going to be very interested in that. We also have an update on a plenary session on aquatic invasive species. We also have something that I think is really super important. It's the environmental justice at the heart of reimagining the canals. That's a plenary session that will be delivered by a panel led by Renee Berry, an Erie Canal Fellow at the Erie Canal Museum. That's going to be a really important plenary session for attendees. In addition, we have a score of breakout sessions and speakers that have very strong content. So we're pretty excited about it. It's October 2nd through 4th, and you should be receiving soon a notice that tells you that the registration is open. We are working with the Canal Corporation on a press event, hopefully in August, to announce this to the rest of the folks in New York State. So stay tuned for more information. It's going to be a great event, and I can't wait to see you all there. So that's my my report on the conference.
Thank you, Cal. Any questions for Cal on the State Canal Conference convening in October, or my experience in Germany? You can get more information coming to you soon. We're on time, so If we have a question, we'll take one quickly. Okay, wonderful presentations. We'll make sure that everybody gets the registration, and you're not going to want to miss it. It begins on Sunday, October 2nd, with the beautiful Street Festival, coinciding with the city's Rock the Riverway public happenings there. We're going to be meeting with Mayor Evans next month, and him and his team geared up to welcome all of us to Rochester in October. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 8 now, and everyone I know believes knows our next presenter. Bill Schweitzer is the Director of Marketing, and he is working with several CRC members and our agency partners as we continue to plan and make ready for the Erie Canal Bicentennial Celebration leading up to 2025. And Bill is not in the conference room with us, but he's on the screen. So Bill, welcome, and Shane, how much time does Bill have? Bill has 1 minute. Can you do it, Bill?
Well,
Go,
on the
Bill.
street is where I do the best of my work, so this works out perfect. And I don't have a tremendous amount of material to update folks on. The projects we listed in the last CRC meeting continue to progress. In particular, the Seneca Chief. I was out in Buffalo last week at the Buffalo Maritime Center, and it isn't until you get there and get on or amongst the work that's going there till you really see how important that project is going to be in the year before 2025, but leading up to 2025, and as well as their work upstairs from the boat on their presentation on Native Americans. The 2025 Bicentennial will be a wonderful opportunity for us to tell these new stories, much like Cal just mentioned Renee Berry. The new voices, untold stories, we are finding the right name to give it. It's going to, that's going to be a major subject in Bicentennial, and that's a theme that I hear and see from the folks I'm meeting with since the last time I talked to you. In the last meeting, Brian, you appointed Dan Wiles as the Bicentennial Chair, but Dan and I in our discussions, we both know that as far as quorums go, that it's not going to be Dan running this big committee. I have spoke to several commissioners about getting some smaller committees, planning, marketing, and that. And that's actually the same thing that's happening outside the CRC. When I talk to the state partners and our partners like Erie Canalway and others, where the work is kind of parallel. We're kind of identifying who's going to do what and when it's going to happen. I'm meeting with Gene McKay from Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor this week, and Gene and I both agree that, first we need to get a timeline, work back from 2025, and then plan accordingly from there and gather the groups, stakeholders, agencies who are going to help us celebrate, help us plan as we approach 2025. The conversations I've had also with stakeholder groups, I really appreciate Commissioner Michelle Renard's counsel on this. We are starting to kind of round up the usual suspect, the big canal stakeholders, but then there's the tourism community and the state agencies. There's a couple state agencies on this call that I need to talk to, especially I Love New York for CFA Market New York funding or budgetary discussions. In 2017, many of you will remember that there was some priority given to Market New York funding for bicentennial projects. NISCA also did that for us. So that's something that we're working on. I'm going to seek your council director to, how do we approach the legislature and or the governor's office and get them involved. I think that they are already involved. I'm just not, involved with that discussion yet, but of course that's coming as well. The first order of business is a timeline, as I said. We are discussing budgets in-house right now internally at the Canal Corp and with Erie Canalway. But my real message or the main message is today that, I'm going to be reaching out to the commissioners that I've already spoke to and I know have interest. But what I'm asking today is for the commissioners that have interest but haven't spoke to me, please reach out and we will get a function. I'll be able to give you personal updates and we can talk and answer and ask questions to each other in those discussions. So I'm going to kind of just be putting myself out there a little more than I have to you. And I think that's about it, but I'll certainly take questions.
Bill, we don't need to limit it, I think, to voting commissioners. We can have agency reps. We can have regional planning executives. Obviously, you know, there's no shortage on good ideas. So any questions or comments from Bill?
Yeah, this is Dan Wiles. I have one comment, and that is I wasn't pushed out. I stepped aside. I found out that there was not going to be enough time in my schedule to do this, to be chair of this committee. Yeah.
I did a quick sidestep and I was pushed back in. So, you know, you know, you and our conversations both started with that we were so busy. This is a good thing, or it's a kind of pivot. You know, I don't think that it's a good thing. You know, the commissioners I've talked to, you know, that the obvious committees that should be formed are like planning, marketing, budget, maybe, and the folks that I've spoke to are, you know, kind of ready to roll up their sleeves in those specific areas. So, no problem here, pal.
Oh, no problem here.
But you're, you know, the desires and the questions or the vision, you know, that you and I talked about is really, it's a duplicate conversation no matter who you talk to, inside the CRC or out. So we're all on the same page, just kind of, it will be rolling. Last week we had a SHAG meeting. It is the Canal Side History Advisory Group. It is headed up by the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation. It is all things canal side, but a big portion of that meeting is always the World Canals Conference, right? So we're working back from the World Canals Conference. So that'll be at the end of the year in 2025. They're on it. Love the consultant that they've hired. The conversations there are going really well, and they mirror really what I'm hearing, you know, on the street and with our internally and with our close partners. So.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Dan. Dan, we will, don't despair. We will find a way to pull you back in between now and sooner rather than later. And a lot of this will really flow out of the synergy that we're going to be starting with our partners as we begin to plan the content and the activities and all of the elements of the 2025 World Canals Conference. We are also working to fully engage the chamber and then the legislature. We hope to have more information on this as we get into our fourth quarterly meeting, which will be after October, after we are done with the State Canal Conference. So we'll be getting to that as we get. Any other questions quickly, because we have to go on to the bulk of our agenda items, and that's the property items. Okay, well, now it's time to move into the bulk and to the discussion of 4 real property items. And pursuant to Canal law and the New York State Public Authorities Law, transactions for the disposition of canal real property must be reviewed by the CRC before being eligible for consideration and approved by the NYPA and the Canal Board of Trustees later. Joining us today in person and at the table is Carmen Story of our Canal Real Property Division to take us through each of the 4 items. Each of these 4 parcels have been reviewed and approved by the acting CRC Real Property Committee and its acting co-chairs, Commissioner Michelle Bernard, along with Commissioner Kyle Wysakowski. Steve and Dan were under the weather last week, but very pleasantly and very happily are back with us today. So, Dan, Michelle, and Cal stepped in for you on Friday afternoon, and we are confident that we bring these 4 items before us confidently to consideration for the full consideration of the CRC. So first up is the Proposed abandonment. We're going to go east to west this time. Albany to Buffalo. The proposed abandonment of 5 acres of canal land located in the town of Colony in Albany County. Welcome, Carmen.
Thank you, Director. Before we get started with our disposals, I just wanted to go over this quickly, this little pie chart that we put together. In our last meeting, the Commission asked of all the proposed disposals in the past 5 years, how many have been completed. We decided to go back 10 years because out of the past 5 years, we lost 2 to COVID. And we wanted our numbers to be more representative of what was actually going on. So of the 71 approved proposals in the past 10 years, 33 have been disposed, 22 are still in process, 15 have been withdrawn, and 1 is now under permit. So I think 47% is a pretty good number, and that other 31%, they're working their way through. So we just wanted to share that with you guys.
We could take questions on that pie chart later, but let's go to the first property item.
Okay, so the 4 parcels planned for disposal, we're going to start in the eastern region with the town of Colony and move out to the western region, the town of Lyons, Arcadia, and the city of North Tonawanda. The first parcel, located in the town of Colony in Albany County, has been requested by the adjacent landowner for use as green space and to increase his acreage to allow for potential development. Everyone hear me okay?
Here, Carmen.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I'm going to try to run through this quickly, folks. So this requested parcel is located on the south and east of the Erie Canal, just south of the Crescent Bridge and west of New York Route 9. 5-acre parcel is irregularly shaped with an average depth of 205 feet and an average length of 1,060 feet. Bounded on the north, west, and south by lands owned by the New York State Canal Corporation, and the east by Route 9, the lands of the applicant. So where you got in your packet a parcel that shows 6.2 acres, we did get a last-minute request from an applicant to the south of this applicant, and the southerly line adjusted northward of 1.2 acres. So that's where that 5 acres is coming from. And when we look at the map again, you will you'll see the difference from the packet that you received and what you're seeing on the screen. The parcel can, based on a visual inspection, there are no environmental concerns associated with this requested parcel. Next slide. The parcel is located within a commercial office residential district, and it's adjacent to a planned development district. The planned development district to the south is LL 6-09, and I'll discuss this in a little bit. Review of the proposal by the State Historic Preservation Office for the parcel's historic and/or archaeological significance has been requested. There are no existing or proposed trails in the vicinity. So if you take a look, you'll see on the map that area right to the east of that southerly line of the red outlined parcel it's a mobile home. And south of that, it's blank slate in this photo, but they are developing lovely condominiums and apartments, and they do want to develop the waterfront there. So these 2 applicants are working together, and they're hoping to really beautify this part of the Mohawk River waterfront. That's our parcel 1. Any questions?
Questions on parcel number 1? Actually, we probably have to move and second it before we do a motion to move parcel number 1.
Like to move it?
I'll second it.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bernard and seconded by Commissioner Iacchetta. Now discussion on parcel 1.
Ken DeRola here. I would just show the adjustment of 1.2 acres down to 5 acres in the motion, because the information wasn't in our packet.
Very good. We will reflect that the motion is for 5.0 acres and not 6.2 or 6. Is that 1.2 acres going to come to us at a future meeting?
That is potentially coming in a.
Okay, stay tuned for those other acres, other 1.2 acres. So this is just 5 acres. Thank you, Commissioner DeBoer. Any other comments or questions? It has been moved. It has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Who say no? Ayes have it. Okay, number 2 is done. We're going to switch. Number 1 is done. We're going to switch to number 2 is going to be actually the 4 acres of canal land in the town of Lyons. Is that correct?
That's correct,
Carmen?
sir.
So our second real property item, it may be listed on your agenda, is the proposed abandonment of approximately 4.1 acres of canal land located in the town of Lyons in Wayne County. Carmen.
Director, this has been requested by the adjoining upland owner to be assembled with their existing property to increase their lot size and expand their operation. Located east of the Erie Canal and west of private property on Coal. Regularly shaped surplus parcel has an average depth of approximately 106 feet and an average length of approximately 1,100 feet. Parcel is not needed for canal maintenance nor operational purposes. It is bounded on the south and west by lands owned by the New York State Canal Corporation and on the north and east by lands of the applicant. Canal Corp will retain within 130 feet of the canal center line for operations and maintenance. This determination is based on a previous release of canal lands adjacent to the requested parcel. We will see this in the map in a slide up ahead. Parcel is located within Town Center District 1. It's a mixed-use area. A factory or industrial use or large-scale industrial development is a permitted use with a special permit. Industrial development of land must be presented in front of the town board for review and approval of the special permit. Based on a visual inspection, there are no environmental concerns associated with this requested. Review by the State Historic Preservation Office for the parcel's historic and/or archaeological significance has been requested. There are no existing or proposed trails impacted by this subject parcel. If you look to the north of this parcel, you'll see that red polygon. That was previously abandoned by canals in the early 1900s, and we're just going to extend that line so that we can continue to maintain the, well, I don't think it's an embankment there, but the shoreline.
Okay, we're going to move and second, and then we will move forward to discussion. So, motion to move this item forward.
Motion.
Motion by whom?
Steve Iacchetta.
Iacchetta, moved by Commissioner Iacchetta. Second?
I'll second it for opportunity.
Commissioner, moved and seconded. Now, discussion on the item. Questions? Carmen, is there an intended use for this property by the applicant?
The applicant does want to expand their operation. They are also interested in removing some dangerous trees that are on canal property. Basically, their facility is surrounded by ash trees, and the emerald ash borer has gotten to all of them, and they do pose a hazard to the existing facility.
Additional questions? Thank you, Carmen. Additional questions?
This is Cal. I think the only comment I have is in my notes about this particular parcel is around environmental concerns moving forward because of the maybe the intended use as a commercial purpose. So I just want to make that comment as we move forward in the approval process, that it wasn't clear about any environmental concerns moving forward.
It appear from the photo that we're all looking at that that's a fuel storage facility or something.
Yep.
Asphalt. So petroleum storage. I would imagine that there would be DEC protocols that any applicant would have to go through if they build closer to the canal. Laura can tell us about that. Laura DeBetta. Well,
I would have to get back to you on that one. We can follow up with that.
Laura, those of us who have traveled along that section of the canal back in the days when we had the waterborne canal tours, I remember that it's got a outrigger pipe. I guess at one point barges used to load asphalt for transport on the canal. I think that was probably before they had to be double hold or whatever, back in the fuel transporting days. So there are also protocols on that. But obviously this has got another couple of required steps to go through, but thank you, Cal, for chiming in on that. And I think Carmen has already said that the applicant is concerned about the ash trees that may fall over onto their property because of the ash borer insect or whatever it is.
This does have to go through DEC for an environmental impact review.
Thank you.
That will
Essential information. Good. So
Thank
Cal,
you.
hopefully that helps.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions on this? Okay, it's been moved, it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 He says aye. Thank you. The ayes have it. It's moved and seconded. It's approved. We're going to go on to item number 3, which may appear as item number 2 on your agenda, and that is the proposed abandonment of approximately 11.4 acres of canal land located in the town of Arcadia in Wayne County. Carmen.
This has been requested by the applicant to be assembled with their adjoining property to be utilized for continued maintenance of a newly established wetland area and for community purposes. Conveyance of this parcel will cure the encroachment of the county's Department of Public Works facility that is on canal lands. The parcel is not needed for canal maintenance nor operational purposes. The irregularly shaped surplus parcel has an average depth of approximately 200 feet and an average length of approximately 2,300 feet. Applicant has maintained County House Road upon the parcel and recently completed a realignment project which required a 2-to-1 wetland restoration effort. Requested parcel is bounded on the north by lands owned by the New York State Canal Corporation and on the south, east, and west by lands owned by the applicant. It is located within the agricultural and general business districts per the Town of Arcadia zoning law. It can be accessed from County House Road and from lands owned by Wayne County. Canalway Trail is located on the north side of the canal at this location. However, the enlarged Erie Canal Lock 56 Trail that is maintained by Trailworks, Inc., Trail Advocates for Wayne County, New York, is adjacent to the northerly boundary of the subject parcel. Based on a visual inspection, there are no environmental concerns associated with this requested parcel, and a review of this proposal by the State Historic Preservation Office for its historic and/or archaeological significance has been requested.
North is the top of the slide. The yellow line is the Empire State Trail. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just to orient yourself, folks. All right, let's move and second, and then we'll move on to discussion. Who would like to move the item?
I'll make a motion to accept it. Rappatorty.
Wiles wants to move it, and who wants to second?
Rappatorty will second it.
Rappatorty will second it. Okay, moved and second. Discussion. Al, did you want to talk about this some more?
Yes, I just want to comment to my fellow commissioners that I struggled with this particular application. I have come down off the ledge for a couple reasons, and the 2-to-1 wetland restoration effort I think was very helpful for me to understand. The fact that Trailworks Inc. is involved with this also really helped me to understand what was going to happen to this parcel. So I did struggle with it, and I just want my fellow commissioners to know that I struggled with it, but I'm better now. I'm better.
Good job,
you.
Cal. Good job.
Yes, thank you.
Nice going, Cal. Thank you. So Cal appears that she has backed off of her previous concerns. Enough to continue to support this going forward. Are there other comments and questions on this proposal? For an intended use?
This is just going to clear the encroachment of the roadway and the paved area and a portion of a building that they use for their facility. Their Humane Society is located right in this vicinity, so it will continue to be used for community.
The Humane Society, when we went through this,
Yeah.
that probably would have helped Cal last week.
There was one very observant dog who was barking a lot at me while I was taking my photo.
So Cal, it's all about the dogs.
It's
So,
all about the animals. That's correct.
All about the animals, less the peace of the children.
Yes. No.
Very good. I'm sure there's other steps that we have to go through on this. Right? Local steps?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This will go through state historic preservation. It will go through environmental conservation for it, an impact assessment, and we'll just go through the process for this. Every other that we get.
All right, wonderful. It has been moved. It has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, say no. No noes, all ayes. It moves second and it passes. Okay, our fourth and final item is the proposed abandonment of 21 acres of canal land located in the city of North Tonawanda in Niagara County. We have some friends on from North Tonawanda on our meeting today, and I believe the North Tonawanda Canal Fest is just concluded. Is that correct?
I was not aware of
Well,
that.
I think it's either coming up or it just wrapped up. But North Tonawanda
That is correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry that I didn't make it out there, so black check mark next to my name. Carmen, please take us through this item.
Okay. So this final item has been requested by the current lessee. It's a not-for-profit organization that would like to convert their existing lease to fee simple interest with the intent to continue to offer low-cost programs and opportunities to children in the community. This irregularly shaped surplus parcel has an average depth of approximately 7 feet, an average length of approximately 1,300. 10 acres of the parcel are currently leased by the applicant, while the remainder is under an occupancy permit to the applicant. While this proposed disposal is not needed for operations nor maintenance, a 50-foot wide strip of land along the shore of the Erie Canal has been requested by operations to be retained for maintenance purposes. The requested parcel is bounded on the east and south by lands of the Canal Corporation, on the west by Sweeney Street, and the north by privately owned residential lots. It can be accessed from Sweeney Street. Parcels located within zoning district R1-2, a single-family residence zone. While the surrounding area is zoned as such, this parcel has been used for youth outdoor recreation and education since 1949. The applicant utilizing the parcel since 1985 and leasing this portion of the parcel since 2000. Next. Canalway Trail is located on the eastern side of the canal in this area and will not be impacted by the disposal of the parcel. Additionally, the city is in the planning stages of a CFA-funded bike trail along Sweeney Street and has expressed that they have no objection to this proposed abandonment, provided that during the survey process, we ensure that the abandonment will have no impact on the planned trail. Based on a visual inspection, there are no environmental concerns associated with the parcel. A review of this proposal by the State Historic Preservation Office for the parcel's historic and/or archaeological significance. 75% of the subject parcel is identified as federal freshwater forested shrub wetland, limiting potential uses and development. Under the lease, the applicant has improved the parcel with several structures to support the youth programs offered to the community. The structures will continue to be used in the same manner.
Very nice, a beautiful photo to finish up with. Makes me at ease and at peace just looking at those lovely photographs, and that's the way it's going to be used for recreational.
That red jacket
Okay. Let's move in second, and then we can get on to discussion or commentary if there is any. Who would like to move it? Michelle, would you like to move it? Bernard moves. Who would like it to second it? Commissioner Wysikowski, did I hear you say second?
Yes, you did.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Seconded. Discussion.
This is Dan Wiles. Has this property been in front of this commission before?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
You said what happened in 2000?
The property was, 10 acres of the property was leased to the current lessee, the Norton Red Jacket Club, in 2000. It may have been before the then.
Okay.
Well before my time, Dan.
I think you noted this, but one around this one came up, like, you know, could it be flipped for residential development? And I believe the zoning is prohibitive of that. Is that correct?
I believe that this could not be flipped just because of the nature of the parcel being 75% wetland. If you look at the sketch on the screen, you'll see large tracts of land that are undeveloped there along Sweeney Street. Those tracts are also federal 100-year flood.
Not going to be able to do much more than 75% federal.
That's 75% of that parcel.
Right.
Yeah, based on vegetation, yes, it's true.
Would the Red Jacket organization want to add anything to this conversation?
Hello, thank you. Yeah, we operate the property at this point to provide low-cost outdoor experiences to area youth. We typically have about 3,000 youth plus come through each year. Just last week, we had 90 kids for their first time out in kayaks on the water. Next week, we have another 90-some coming out to do some canoeing on the water. But we're not only operational during the fair weather times, right along the strip along the canal there, we typically will do snowshoeing and cross-country skiing as well. And there are a whole other bunch of activities that we do throughout the year. We're year-round. We have no paid staff. This is a 100% volunteer organization that's existed for 37 years. So pretty amazing, actually, that we've done that. But it's because we have lots of local support. We do a lot of good in the community. We definitely balance ourselves between, preserving the environmental resources and the animals and the wetlands there. along with education of all the kids who come through there and the groups, and the recreation that we do. So we've done a good job, I think, in preserving, the natural habitat, but providing a lot of education to the kids in the area. So
that's what you want to do. What you want to do more of, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We want to expand, our activities, and so it's difficult to expand, any infrastructure we might add into it or the activity. And getting support for that is difficult under a lease permit.
We like what we hear. I'm sure the commissioners do too, and we would like. That sounds fascinating, and I think maybe we should look at that for our next for on the canals tours. Tonawanda, learn how to kayak, snowshoe, all those other wonderful things that we do.
Love to have you.
Good. All right, I'm going to stop talking, and unless any of the other commissioners have any more comments or questions for our friends from the Red Jackets, we're going to take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Say no. The ayes have it. Thank you very, very much, Red Jackets. We thank you, Carmen, for that wonderful job taking us through those 4 property items. Thank you. Moving on, I would like to now, under new business, ask members of the public if they, not members of the public, members of the commission, if they have any new business items they would like to bring before the commission. Any new business items?
Yes,
No.
Director,
Go ahead.
one quick announcement.
Who's this?
Paul Byer.
Yes, sir, Mr. Byer. Go ahead.
So last meeting, Director, you and I presented on the DRI and the forthcoming New York Forward program.
Yes.
This past week, we rolled out both of them. And I think the latter, New York Forward, which is focused more on smaller and rural communities that might have been left behind during the first 5 years of DRI, might be very appropriate for some of the smaller canal communities that, maybe under-resourced and overburdened.
Paul, when is the deadline for New York Forward application?
Oh, so I will circulate. It's funny, I wrote all the material for it. Now I can't remember the deadline. There is an initial deadline. We're doing New York Forward a little differently. We're making it easier for smaller communities. One way we're doing it differently is to allow a period whereby they submit a simple letter of interest, which will then trigger assistance on our part and capacity building assistance from assigned consultants. So I don't yet know what the final deadline is, but I will get you all the deadline for those letters of interest, which then triggers a bunch of, one-on-one assistance.
I would love to talk to you more about that, because I've got ideas of excellent canal communities that would be viable candidates, and I've tried to promote it among some of them, but I haven't had a lot of materials to send out, nor I've had a visible portfolio of things that I can send to them, because that I knew about the program, but I haven't heard more about it since it passed.
All right, let's talk, and we did a little brochure this time because we want to make sure people know the differences and the similarities between the more robust DRI and the New York Forward. So I think that should help convey that, and then kick in this process, which I think is much less intimidating, using this simple letter of interest to start the application process.
You are open to talking to some of these municipalities. I can give you contacts or suggestions of whom you should contact if it isn't not within the window of, the application window, if that's not allowed. But the way that I understand it, New York Forward is about half the size of the DRI. It's up to $5 million, and instead of 10, and we're looking for contingent or adjacent communities. canal communities that can partner together by a connection, whether it's by the trail or by the canal or by a project. Is that correct?
Right. There's going to be an option per region. You could give one, the numbers get a little bit off here because some of the money is chopped off for technical assistance and planning. So you could give one how does it work? One $4.5 million award and two $2.25 million awards per region. Or you can give two $4.5 million awards per region. So we're just leaving it as open-ended as we can, and then, as in the past, allowing the REDCs to decide which option to choose. I should also mention, in case you're going to get this question, and we've got it already, a community can apply for both a DRI and a New York Forward if they're just not sure, or if they want to cover both bases. Once again, the REDCs will sift through those and decide which is most appropriate for the communities for that region.
But if you're already a DRI, you cannot apply for.
Yeah, I don't think so. No,
right.
No.
So the bottom line is here, $4.5 million up for grabs. The other $500,000 goes to the consultant that guides you through the process, right?
Right. We have to always check because DRI is technically a $10 million award, but only 9.7 million goes to projects. We always carve out a portion for the planning, and in this case, we also have consultants on call for the technical assistance and capacity building.
Paul, you should follow up with me. We should follow up with all the commissioners and all of our friends to make sure that everybody knows about the New York Forward program, when the application is, its benefits, and what it can mean for their community. I fully believe in it. There's a lot of communities that have not made it to the DRI threshold yet that might be better, they're more eligible for the New York Forward funding as a DRI. So thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
Any other items of new business to come before the... Okay, any members of the public who would like to speak who are on with us today? No members. Okay, very good. We will look into again at reconvening in person for the fourth quarter meeting. I believe we have already published the dates that we are thinking of in advance for our next 4 or 5 meetings. But obviously it's going to be sometime between October and November after our Canal conference in October. So the beginning of the fall, probably after the Canal is closed. But we'll get back to you on that. As usual practice, we will conduct a survey of our commission members to determine which is the best time and the location for those of us who will follow the remainder of the year and into the first quarter of 2023. If there are any members who wish to discuss this item, scheduling for our next meeting. I would like to thank our Canal Corporation staff, as always. Bowman, thank you very much. Shane, Rebecca, Lisa Saltis, who is behind me, filling in today for Kim Orapello. And on behalf of all of us on the Commission and the Canal Corporation, our thoughts and prayers are with Kim and her family, as Kim lost her father recently and is not able to be with us. So our thoughts and prayers are with Kim, and our thanks for her for leading us to this point and handing off to Lisa and Shane, who did a marvelous job on putting this together. Is there any more business? If not, I will entertain. Thank you, Cal, for that clapping. Silent clapping, air clapping. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Bernard. Second by Commissioner Forte. Okay. Discussion on the item to adjourn. He wants to adjourn. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you all very much. It's wonderful to see you, and we look forward to seeing everybody in person at the meeting, at the table, next year. We're going to save all of the sandwiches left over, so it'll be a little tough come November, but you know, we have to cut costs somewhere. So thank you very much, and we are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.